Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All right. Welcome to our Yom Kippur 2018. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
And this is our Yom Kippur 2018 message. Looks a little. Okay, whatever. All right, let's jump right in. Let me have my first reader read Leviticus 23, 26 through 32, please.
And Yahuwah spoke unto Moshe, saying, Also on the 10th day of the 7th moon there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be an holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your soul, and offer an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah. And ye shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make atonement for you before Yahuwah your Elohim. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted, in that same day he shall be cut off from among his people. And whatsoever soul it be that doeth any work in that same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people. Ye shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your soul. In the 9th day of the moon at eve, from eve unto even, shall he celebrate your Sabbath.
Hallelujah. Okay, so it's the 7th day, the 10th day of the 7th month, and here it is. We're keeping Yom Kippur, atonement. It says to make an atonement for you before Yahuwah your Elohim. Now, just what is atonement from a Hebraic perspective? The word is Kippur, number 3725, meaning atonement. It's actually a plural term from kaphar, and kaphar means to cover. So it's essentially, and quite literally, atonement means coverings. You know, and that's important to note, seeing that we're in the day of atonement. You know, it can also be said we're in the day of coverings. Amen?
Amen.
Now, we were told that we must afflict our souls. Now, what does afflict your souls mean? You know, so the word afflicted is anah, number 6031, meaning to depress literally or figuratively, to chasten self, to deal hardly with, to humble self, to be busy with, to be occupied, mishandled, to force. So in other words, you know, if you're going to afflict yourself, you're going to depress yourself, you're going to deal hardly with, you're going to humble yourself, you're going to make your body listen. Amen?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the word soul is nefesh, number 5315, and it can speak to appetite. Yeah, so here it is. You can see that you're going to deal hardly with your appetite. You're going to humble your appetite. You're going to mishandle or force your appetite. It can also speak to the mind, the body, the desire, pleasures, emotions, passion. So if you're going to truly afflict your soul, then you're going to abstain from your desires, your pleasures, you know, the emotions that you like, you know, your passions, you know, and you're going to fixate all that on Yah, amen?
Amen.
All right, so Ezra 8:21 tells us, it says, Then I proclaimed a fast there at the river Ahava, that we might afflict ourselves before our Elohim, to see of him a right way for us and for our little ones and for all our substance. So hereby we see the word afflict, anah, utilized, you know, in conjunction with fasting elsewhere. You know, you don't have to wait to the Day of Atonement to fast. You can afflict your souls, you know, for Yah at any time. You know, you can proclaim your own fast, you know, to afflict your soul before Elohim, so that you can see a right way for yourself, maybe. Amen. Let's take a look at Daniel 10, 2 and 3. Also, it says, in those days, I, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks. I ate no pleasant bread, neither came flesh nor wine into my mouth, neither did I anoint myself till 3 whole weeks were fulfilled. And then we jump down to verse 10. It says, then said he unto me, fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand and to chasten thyself before thy Elohim, thy words were heard. I am come for thy words. You know, so we see here that when you afflict your soul, it can cause Yah to hear you. Amen. And our final example is taken from 2 Samuel 13, 11 through 14. It says, and when she had brought them unto him to eat, he took hold of her and said unto her, come lie with me, my sister. And she answered him, nay, my brother, do not force me, for no such thing ought to be done in Israel. Do not thou this folly, and I whither shall I cause my shame to go? And as for thee, thou shalt be as one of the fools in Israel. Now therefore I pray thee, speak unto the king, for he will not withhold me from you. Howbeit, he would not hearken unto her voice, but being stronger than she forced her and lay with her. You know, sometimes, you know, when you want to afflict yourself before Elohim, your flesh is not going to give in easily. Sometimes you're going to have to force it. Amen. You know. Let me have my next reader read Yeshayahu 58, 1 through 7, please.
Cry aloud, speak not, lift up the voice, like a trumpet, and show my people their transgressions, and the house of Jacob their sins. Yea, they seek me daily, and delight to know my ways, as a nation that did righteousness, and forsook not the ordinance of their Elohim. They ask me the ordinance of justice. They take delight in approaching to Elohim. Wherefore we fast, say they, and thou seek not. Wherefore have we afflict our souls, and thou takest no knowledge. Behold in the day of your fast, yea, find pleasure and exact all your labors. Behold ye, for the strife and debate, and to smite with the fist of wickedness. Ye shall not fast, as ye do this day. Make your voice be heard and on high. Is it such a fast that I have chosen, a day for a man afflict his soul? Is it to bow down his head as a bulrush, and to speak sackcloth and ashes under him? Wilt thou call this a fast, an acceptable day of Yahuwah? Is not this the fast that I have chosen, to loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, that yea, break every yoke? Is not to deal thy bread to the hunger, and that thou bringest the poor, that thou art cast out to thy house. When thou seekest the naked, thou cover him, and that thou hide him, and that thou hide not thyself from thy own flesh.
Hallelujah. All right, so here it is. Yah is talking about fasting here, and he's speaking about his people. He says, they seek me daily to delight to know my ways as a nation that did righteousness and forsook not the ordinance of their Elohim. If you want to know Yah's ways, then you should seek him daily, but you should do righteousness, and you should not forsake the ordinance of your Elohim, and you will know his ways, and if you afflict your soul, then make certain that you afflict it in a way that's pleasing to the Most High. He says, the type of fast that he wants is one where, not only do you cease from eating, but you also loose the bands of the wickedness. To do heavy burdens and to let the oppressed go free, and that ye break every yoke, and to deal bread to the hungry, and to bring the poor that are cast out into thy house, and when thou seest the naked that thou cover him, and thou hide not thyself from thine own flesh. Now, take note that it says thine own flesh. And that's because it's speaking, Yah is speaking concerning, the kingdom of Israel, which were our family. I make that, statement because I remember once I was in, when I was living in Las Vegas, there was this bum that, that I used to pass by all the time. And, and I was really trying to walk this thing out, and I was considering bringing that bum into my house. I don't think that would have been a good idea, and at the end of the day, I refrained from doing so, so that's why I emphasize this, because Yah is talking about his kingdom, and in today's time, and we'd be speaking about the kingdom of Elohim, the saints that's in Yahushua, and of course in accordance to your own blood family, which would also be your own flesh. If you see them naked, cover them. I know every time Pookie calls, he wants something. But don't hide yourself from your own flesh. Cousin Pookie, he don't mean no harm. I know he'll mess up, but rather than not answering the phone, just tell him no. And tell him why you telling him no. Point him in the right direction. Don't just ignore him. Sorry, Cousin Pookie, I didn't mean to put you on front, but this is the type of fast that Yah wants. He wants a type of fast that, you don't do your pleasure. You don't do your labors. That's the type of fast that he wants. How you going to be fasting and afflicting your soul and you doing everything you like? You're not doing Yah's work, but you're doing your work. Because Master say you got to have it done. Say lie. I'm just saying, that's the type of fast that Yah wants. Verses 9 through 14 continues on. It says, then shalt thou call, and Yahuwah shall answer. Thou shalt cry, and he shall say, here I am. If thou take away from the midst of thee the yoke, the putting forth of the finger, and speak in vanity. What is this word yoke? It's matah. Number 4133, speaking to uphold, by implication, a yoke. Now, it's actually the feminine aspect of mote. Number 4132, meaning a wavering, that is, fall, to slip, to shake, to be out of course. So, what is speaking about this yoke that's been spoken of here is a burden that you put on someone that caused them to waver, that caused them to fall or slip or shake or be out of the course of Yah. He says, take away from the midst of thee the yoke, the putting forth of the finger. Stop pointing the finger at other people. Because when you do, you have 3 more pointing back at you. Amen?
Amen.
And speaking vanity. Verse 10, and if thou draw out to thy soul to the hungry and satisfy the afflicted soul, then shall thy light rise in obscurity. Thy darkness shall be as the noonday, and Yahuwah shall guide thee continually and satisfy thy soul in the drought, and make fat thy bones, and thou shalt be like a watered garden, and like a spring of water whose waters fail not. And they that shall be of thee shall build the old waste places. Thou shalt raise up the foundations of many generations. Thou shalt be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of the paths to dwell in. That's what we want to be. That's who we are. We're the repairers of the breach. We're the restorers of the paths to dwell in. Verse 13, if thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day. Stop doing your business on Yah Shabbat. Make it all about him.
Hallelujah.
And call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of Yahuwah, honorable, and shall honor him, not doing thy own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words. Yeah, he don't even want you speaking your own words. He wanted to be all about him.
Hallelujah.
And if you do, verse 14, then shalt thou delight thyself in Yahuwah. And I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth and feed thee with the heritage of Yaakov thy father. For the mouth of Yahuwah hath spoken. So, today is Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. You know, atonement equals coverings. And as we said, another way of saying this is a day of coverings. You know, so some of you may be wondering, well, how can you be covered or cover someone else? Because that's what this day is all about. I'm glad you're thinking such a way, because that's what we're going to look at next. First, we're going to consider that sometimes we need to be covered. You know, I don't think this is quite what this guy had in mind, but sometimes we need to be covered. Let's take a look at some scriptural examples. My next reader, 2 Samuel 21, 1 through 3, please.
Then there was a famine in the days of David 3 years, year after year, and David inquired of Yahuwah, and Yahuwah answered, it is for Saul and for his bloody house, because he slew the Gibeonites. And the king called the Gibeonites and said unto them, now the Gibeonites were not of the children of Israel, but of the remnant of the Amorites. And the children of Israel had sworn unto them, and Saul sought to slay them in his zeal to the children of Israel and Judah. For David said unto the Gibeonites, what shall I do for you, and wherewith shall I make the atonement, that ye may bless the inheritance of Yahuwah?
Hallelujah. Okay, so we see there was a famine in the days of David, 3 years, year after year. And David inquired of Yahuwah, and Yahuwah answered. And what did he say? It is for Saul and for his bloody house, because he slew the Gibeonites. You know, now, the point that I want to make is there's times when you can do things that will cause you to be uncovered. Amen?
Amen.
You know, see, this is the lesson that's to be learned here. There's times when you can do something that will cause you to be uncovered. You know, if you don't make proper amends, you can become uncovered. And so, you know, sometimes maybe we done wronged someone, and we you know, we gave that fake I'm sorry, or, you know, or didn't even do that. And we know in our heart that we should actually make amends, you know, but we don't. That can cause you to become uncovered. See, and as the lesson that we're to learn here is we see that Israel had entered into a famine. And don't think that you in your individual life cannot enter into a famine. You can enter into your own little personal famine where nothing goes right in your life.
Right.
Where all the seeds that you plant remain sterile. Where they don't take root and they don't sprout forth. And it could be because you're uncovered. You know, so I would encourage you that if you know of any situations in your life such as this that you've done and that you have not made amends for, that you actually do so that you can be covered. Amen. Genesis 27, 41 through 45. This is another example. You know, let me have my next reader read Genesis 27, 41 through 45, please.
And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. And these words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah. And she sent and called Jacob her younger son, and said unto him, behold, thy brother Esau is touching thee. Do comfort himself, purposing to kill thee. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, and arise, flee thou to Laban, my brother, to Haran. And tarry with him a few days, until thy brother's fury turn away. Until thy brother's anger turn away from thee, and he forget that which thou hast done to him, then I will send and fetch thee from thence. Why should I be deprived also you both in one day?
Okay, so in case you're a little unfamiliar with the story, Yaakov pretended to be Esau so that he can steal the blessing from his father. His father had become blinded, and so he couldn't see, you know, but, you know, so Yaakov dressed up like his brother, went before his father so that he can steal the blessing, and it worked. You know, and so, needless to say, Esau was upset about it. And so here it is, we're seeing it says, and Esau hated Yaakov because of the blessing wherewith his father had blessed him. Okay, now, continuing on in verses, Genesis 32, 13 through 21, we get the other part of the story. My next reader, could you please read Genesis 32, 13 through 21, please?
And he lodged there that same night, and took of that which to his hand a present for Esau his brother, 200 she-goats and 20 he-goats, 200 ewes and 20 heifers, 30 millet camels and their colts, 40 kine and 10 bulls, and 20 she-asses and 10 fowls. And he delivered them into the hand of his servants, every drove by themselves, and said unto his servants, pass over before me, and put a space betwixt drove and drove. And he commanded the foremost, saying, when Esau my brother meeteth thee, and asketh thee, saying, whose art thou, and whither goest thou, and whose are these before thee? Then thou shalt say, they are thy servant Jacob's. It is thy present sent unto my lord Esau, and behold, also he is behind us. And so commanded he the second and the third, and all that followed the drove, saying, on this matter shall ye speak to Esau when ye find him. And say ye moreover, behold, thy servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him and with the present that goeth before me, and afterward I will see his faith, peradventure he will accept of me. So went the present over before him, and himself lodged that night in the company.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Okay, so now I want you to see what's happening. I want you to see what's transpiring in this story. You know, now as I should have mentioned, but it was kind of gory. But I still should have mentioned it. back here with in 2 Samuel 21. Now, these sins of Saul was covered by the Gibeonites. They requested that 7 men of the family of Saul be killed. They said they didn't want no money, they didn't want no gold, they didn't want no silver, no gold. They wanted 7 lives. Amen.
Amen.
You know, and so of the sons of Saul, and so this was given, and Israel was covered. The famine ceased, you know, because they made amends. And so, and that's important because, you know, I want you to also see in the second example, it's the same thing. You know, here it is in verse 13 of Genesis 32, it says that Yaakov took of that which came to his hand a present for Esau his brother. Okay? He took a present for Esau his brother because he was on his way back home. He knew he had wronged him before he left. So, now this is important, see, because so many, we grew up in a society where, you know, I said I'm sorry is enough. But scripturally speaking, and in reality, sorry is not enough. You know, if you stole my car and then you totaled it out, and then you felt guilty and you called me and you told me, hey, Pastor, you know, your car that was missing, yeah, I took it and I totaled it. I'm so sorry. Sorry isn't good enough. You know, I'm gonna need a new car. You know, so, you know, you're to make right the situation. See, Yah is an L of retribution. And so this is what he sees as justice. And rightfully so. Because if that shoe was on your foot, you would want more transportation. Amen?
Amen.
You know, so here it is. We see Yaakov concerning his brother Esau. It says in verse 20, I will appease him. This word appease is kaphar. Cover him. You know, or cover himself, you know, with the present that goeth before me. So he was seeking to cover himself with the present that he was sending forth. And take note, he didn't send no little present. 200 she-goats, 20 he-goats, 200 ewes, 20 rams, so on and so forth. It was a sizable present. And then that wasn't the first. He sent like 3 droves. You know, so the point that I'm making is depending upon the severity of the transgression that you have done, then you are to make amends. You're to seek to make amends. Try to make it right. Try to cover yourself. Because if you don't, you can find yourself like Israel during the time of David when they had a famine year after year after year. Because they were uncovered. So that's an important concept to take to heart. Now, sometimes we need to cover someone else. Just like sometimes we need to be covered, sometimes we need to cover someone else. So we're going to take a look at some scriptural examples of this. You know, yeah, sometimes we need to cover someone else. Let me have my next reader read Deuteronomy 21, 1 through 8, please.
If one be found slain in the land which Yahuwah thy Elohim giveth thee to possess it, lying in the field, and it be known who hath slain him, then thy elders and thy judges shall come forth, and they shall measure unto the cities which are round about him that is slain. And it shall be that the city which is next unto the slain man, even the elders of the city, shall take a heifer which hath not been wroth with, and which hath not drawn in the yoke, And the elders of that city shall bring down the heifer unto a rough valley, which is neither eared nor sown, and shall strike off the heifer's neck there in that valley. And the priests, the sons of Levi, shall come near, for them Yahuwah thy Elohim hath chosen to minister unto him, and to bless in the name of Yahuwah. And by thy word shall every controversy and every stroke be tried. And all the elders of that city that are next unto the slain man shall wash their hands over the heifer that is beheaded in the valley. And they shall answer and say, Our hands have not shed this blood, neither have our eyes seen it. Be merciful, O Yahuwah, unto thy people Israel, whom thou hast redeemed, and lay not innocent blood unto thy people of Israel's charge, and the blood shall be forgiven them.
Hallelujah. Okay, so here it is. We're talking about if one be slain in the land which Yahuwah Elohim giveth them. Okay, so we're looking at the principle here. Here it is. Someone was murdered, and they're laid out. No one knows who done it. So, the way that blood was covered was that there was, I forget the term that scripture utilizes, but there was someone who would go kill the killer. Kinsman redeemer, a kinsman redeemer or avenger of blood. They would go out and they would slay the murderer. The murderer, not the killer, the murderer. It's a difference. Okay, now so here it is. Someone has been murdered. No one has any idea what has happened. But so there's a problem because this can cause them to become unclean. And so Yah gives them, some things to do. But what I want to focus in on is that these things to do, it says in verse 8 that after they do them, the blood shall be forgiven. This word forgiven, again, is anah, covered. See, I want you to understand that concept of covering because, atonement, the Day of Atonement is the day of coverings. Atonement is the plural of kaphar. So atonement means coverings. This is the day of coverings. Now, if no other time, this is the time that you should seek to cover someone. Or this is the time that you should seek to be covered. If you know that you've wronged someone and that you're uncovered. This is the time to make amends so that you can be covered. It's really important. Let's take a look at some other usages, another usage of kaphar, or to be covered. Psalm 78, 37 and 38. It says, For their heart was not right with them, neither were they steadfast in his covenant. But he, being full of compassion, forgave their iniquity and destroyed them not. Yea, many a time turned his anger away and did not stir up all his wrath. Forgave, again, is kaphar, to cover. And the point that I'm trying to make here is when you forgive someone, you cover them. So if you're going to cover someone, you forgive them. I'm going to go back to my previous analogy. Someone came and stole my car. They wrecked it. They called me. They said, I'm sorry, and then I told them about I wanted a new car, and to be reimbursed for my damages, and they like, but Pastor, I'm broke. What? Well, at this point, I have a decision to make. I can hold their feet to the fire and cause them to be incarcerated or whatever the sin, whatever the penalty is for doing that. Or I can cover them by forgiving their sin. Can you see that?
Yep.
There's some folks that know that people have offended them, and they will not forgive those people. They will not cover them. And reason being, they think that the deed that was done unto them is unforgivable. But I beg to differ. Scripture begs to differ. Yahushua begs to differ. It is forgivable. And we are to forgive. Matthew 6:14-15. It says, "For if ye forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if ye forgive not men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses." If you want to be forgiven, then you must forgive. If you want to be covered, then you must cover. You can't go through life, keep on accepting coverings, but not giving any coverings. This is huge in the body of Messiah. Because there's a lot of people, that get upset because they were wronged and refuse to cover their own brethren and sisters that's in the body. You can't do that. This is the day of coverings. This is what it's all about. This is why we do this each year. You can make the difference betwixt, someone's name getting written in the book of life and not. Because you holding something over their head. And truly, they may not get in. But guess what? You won't either. Because if you don't forgive, then you won't be forgiven. So, let's consider two of the main ways that you can cover someone, or that you can be covered. 1 Kephas 4:8-10. "And above all things have fervent charity among yourselves, for charity shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging, as every man have received a gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim." We seen Yaakov utilize this method. He used charity. He gave alms unto his brother to make amends. Amen? So that he might be covered. And he was. It worked. That's one way to cover someone. Maybe someone didn't, offend you. You can still cover them. If you see they're naked, cover them. And spiritually speaking, that's what the next example speaks to. James 5:19-20. It says, "Brethren, if any of you do err from the truth, and one convert him, let him know that he which converteth the sinner from the error of his ways shall save a soul from death, and shall hide a multitude of sins." Now what I want you to see is that this is just a spiritual aspect of this. That's all it is. Because if someone has erred from truth, they are uncovered. And so if you convert them back to the truth, you've covered them. So this is really important. So, we have a few hours left before sunset. And I'm just going to ask that all you guys just take a look in this scriptural mirror and reflect as to whether or not you need to be covered. If you need to be covered, then call someone and see if you can't get covered. See if you can't make amends. Maybe you need to give an offering. Maybe you need to promise a gift. Whatever you need to do, I suggest you do it so that you might be covered. You know, or maybe you need to cover someone. Maybe you're holding on to a grudge because someone has wronged you. Maybe you haven't really forgiven them. Why don't you take the time to cover them today? Because that's what this day is about. It's about coverings. You know, so as we proceed from here on out, I'm going to ask that you do just that. You know, reflect, cover someone, or get yourself covered before the sun set. That's all I have for you. Pray it was a blessing.
Hallelujah.